This is no ordinary fish. It is known to some as the dragon, and that is not because it resembles the mythical creature. Like the dragon, this unique marine creature is surrounded by legends aplenty. In China, this is a symbol of prosperity. For the Thais, this fish is a sign of fertility. Many others around the world see it as a mark of good fortune. And why not? This is a fish that some say has outlived the dinosaurs. Perhaps that's reason enough for some to call it King of the Aquarium. Kan Tianxiong knows well the unique appeal of the Asian arowana. He traded his corporate banking office for a farm here in Lim Chu Kang. This is where he runs the Panda Aquatic Center, one of the few arowana breeding farms in Singapore. It's certainly a big break from the past and dealing in cold hard cash. Now, Kan works to be in touch with his other side and deal with intuition and feelings.
The most important asset that you need is sensitivity to nature. If you're sensitive to how flowers and plants and animals grow and multiply, that is the essential asset that you need in a project like this. Because it's only when you're sensitive to nature that you're able to appreciate what's going on in the pond with the fishes and whether they are feeling happy or whether they are down with problems.
Nature rules here, with 29 breeding ponds occupying 7-acre farm. To the casual eye, these murky waters may not look like much on the surface, but as in all things, it is what lies beneath that holds the answer. In this case, a gold mine. Each pond is filled with 20 to 30 adult arowanas. You can't spot them easily because these fish prefer to keep to the depths of the water. And living up to the arowana status, each fish comes with a 4-figure price tag. So much goes to make sure the fish feel right at home.
We need to have very natural and quiet environment for this fish. They're very, very private in character, and if they're not used to people with new faces, then they will shy away and they'll be prevented from doing what they're supposed to be doing in the ponds. And that's why I keep the farm very natural with a lot of bushes, and the grass. We try to keep it as natural as possible, and if we really need to cut the grass, we don't use mechanical equipment. We just use the simple sickle.
The reason for keeping these artificial ponds as natural as possible is simple. These fish need to be kept happy because their job is simply to mate and produce eggs. Being the prized brooders, they are pampered and priceless. At one time, these graceful creatures were so priceless, they were almost extinct. What saved them was a trade ban on arowanas imposed in 1994. Now, there are only a handful of countries and farms which are allowed to trade in the Asian arowana, like the Panda Aquatic Center.
The main reason is that this is a fish that doesn't breed too easily. And secondly, this is a fish that doesn't breed anywhere else in the world except this part of the world near the equator, and you're limited to a few places. Singapore is one, Malaysia, but even then, not the whole of Malaysia, the southern part of Malaysia. And Indonesia, again, is not the whole of Indonesia.
So there's a high value attached to these fish and their eggs. The fertilized eggs are carried by the male arowana in its mouth. However, to ensure that no eggs are lost, breeders prefer to isolate the male parent and remove the eggs from the arowana's mouth and hatch it at a nursery.
During the feeding process, we are able to see whether they have the eggs in the mouth. And when we notice that, we'll make a note in our record. And we'll be coming down 2 to 3 weeks' time to locate that particular fish for the purpose of harvesting.
Once in the nursery, it takes about 2 months for the eggs to hatch. These arowanas are about a month old and they swim with the eggs still attached to their bodies. The eggs continue to be a source of protein for the growing fish for about 2 weeks. Presently, there are 4 varieties of arowana, but all have the same distinct characteristics. The 2 feelers growing just below the mouth of the fish. They are called barbels and give the fish its unique look resembling the mythical dragon. For the arowana lover, it is not simply the breed that matters, many other factors add up, factors that also add up the number of zeros behind the dollar value of the arowana.
This fish over here is the red arowana, and the coloration is very important, followed by broad body shape, big vintage, and definitely the posture of the swimming of the fishes. They must, swim elegantly, very calmly, which you will enjoy looking at it. Scales-wise, when it start to grow bigger, the scale must be broad, bigger, and then it must be shining enough. Where once the light shine, the whole scale reflects the color, the intensity of the color which you are enjoying.
But as in all species, in a crowd of many, only one stands out, and deservingly it is called the king arowana. King arowanas are part of the crossback species, and they are rare, and at the same time stunningly beautiful. And understandably, these 2 characteristics make king arowanas a valuable possession.
This piece here, which is a crossback, and they have a nickname to it, which is a king arowana. And for the Chinese, they call it the Fa Fulong. And I personally like this fish very much because it names itself show it's like a very lucky and prosperous fish to keep.
And the price tag for this special 1 in 1,000 fish? Well, at last count, it was going for $13,000 and rising, with the price growing as the fish grows older. But whether it is $13,000 or $30,000, some say it is a small price to pay for the fortune this fish will eventually bring to its owner. But can a mere fish bring fortune and prosperity? Urban legend or something else? You decide.
When I cut out from my property investment and share market investment in the early to mid 90s, it was to allow me to have this liquidity, this seed capital to start this farm. If I haven't been doing this, I would still be in the stock and property market, and I would have lost my pants. So personally, it has brought me tremendous luck and fortune. I can vouch for that.
How can you tell the age of fish? Count the rings on their scales or on small bones of the inner ear. If you can find their ears.
For the Yo household, keeping arowanas has become a family activity. The passion started with just one fish, which head of the household Yo Pi-sun brought home one day.
First started off, I chose the cheapest one. That's the RTG, or what we call red tail golden. So after I get comfortable with the fish, I go into a more quality fish. In fact, I went for those red arowana, those we call super red, as well as now what I'm keeping is those what we call crossback.
Soon the numbers grew, and Pi-sun decided that he had to get this gigantic aquarium to house his prized possessions. Having kept many other types of fish in the past, Pi-sun was nevertheless surprised at the ease in maintaining arowanas.
When I first started off this hobby, I have this phobia as well that keeping arowana is going to be a very tedious job, and it's going to be a very expensive hobby and things like that. But as I go along, I found it's actually quite a hardy fish. They don't easily die on you as long as you maintain the water. And mainly because if you have a good filter system, you don't normally change the water at all. You just top it up every week, and you just clean up the debris at the bottom.
And what fascinated him even more was the intelligence of the fish. While fish are normally regarded as docile creatures, here was a unique breed that would actually react to the presence of a familiar figure.
You'll be quite amazed on how they actually can recognize you, especially if you come back from home. When you open up the door and you come, they can actually sort of greeting you, you know. And normally when feeding times, what we do is sometimes we try to teach them some tricks by clapping hands, and they can actually hear you, and then they will come and gather to the place where you normally drop the food. Yeah, so those are really some things that it's quite amusing for a fish to be able to do that.
Very soon, the interest in the Arowanas rubbed off onto the rest of the Yo family. Soon, wife and children were getting pretty fishy too.
When I come back from work, sometimes because of hard work and so on, only my kids or my wife is in the house. They will actually come and give me a report of what happened in the fish tank. You know, this fish is fighting, or the tail is broken, and so on. And in fact, they even given names to my fish. You know, and over weekends sometimes we actually make a trip down to the farms where the kids can actually enjoy it. So, in a sense, it actually bring the family together.
For the Yo family, watching and taking care of their aquarium of Arowanas is therapeutic. But for the many hobbyists at Arowana stores like this one, it is the majesty of the fish, right to the finer details, that gets them excited. The only other detail about the fish they don't seem to take notice of is the price. No, your eyes are not playing tricks on you. Arowanas do fetch these prices, but count yourself lucky. If you were in Japan, the cost of the Arowana goes up by almost 50% of what you see here. But for the serious collector, no price is too much, and often enthusiasts are keen to display their prize Arowanas at competitions to distinguish the best from the rest. And the trademarks of a true champions are perfect poise, nice shape, and striking color. The strong interest in dollar value in Arowanas has also created a unique industry, one that involves investing in the Arowana. It's a system called proxy farming. It all relates back to the fish and the fortune it supposedly brings with it. According to Kan Tian-seong, purchasing an Arowana is not like buying any other fish. It is an investment in itself. Because as the fish matures, its value will increase. So in proxy farming, the owner merely has to purchase the fish and then watch his investment grow from the comfort of his home.
Here we feed them and take care of them. And it's kept here for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. Depending on the wishes of the customer. No? Why do they feel this facility is so interesting to them? Well, if they have kept the fish for 1 year, and if they're in a position to tell me they want to sell the fish after 1 year, they can be assured of at least a 10% return. And if it's kept for 2 years, then it's another 10% for the other year. And if it's kept for 3 years, it will be another 10% per annum return.
After the 3rd year, the fish fetch a much higher price as they will be matured enough to breed. And this becomes another avenue for Kan Tian-seong to source for breeding fish. No other farm in Singapore currently carries out proxy farming, which Kan is hoping will catch on given the growing potential of this unique fish. But according to Kan, proxy farming is only one example of the business potential this unique fish can bring for Singapore.
Already, Singapore has been, over the years, been the #1 exporter of ornamental fish. We developed the common guppy, we further developed the discus fish, two fishes originally from South America. Singapore similarly has this advantage doing the arowana. This time round, we should invest in and take time to develop a brand name associated with Arowana farm in Singapore, so that when our fish goes overseas and gets sold in the global market, we are selling our Singapore brand arowana fish, and not just any old arowana from any old where, no?
From the arowana enthusiast who is willing to invest his time and money in keeping the dragonfish, to the arowana breeder who sees the investment potential in this unique fish. It looks like the interest in the arowanas won't be declining for some time to come, so long as people still believe its legends and continue to be charmed by the grace and beauty of the dragon.
Hi again. Do you know that most fish can't swim backwards? Those that can are mostly members of the eel family.
Hi again, I'm David. Today I'm going to talk about aquarium filters. Follow me, I'll show you.
So let me just ask you, why are filters so important when setting up a fish tank?
Well, filter is actually the heart of the tank. And filtration, there are many types in the market. The one that you see over here, these are called compact filter. This compact filter, there are many brands in the market. The well-known one will be EHAM. EHAM is originated from Germany, and they have been in the market for the last 50 years. There are many types of media, filter media, that are involved in this canister. First of all, you can see over here is a filter mat. For different type of filter media, they serve a different function. Like this one. These are ceramic rings. As you can see, there are small little holes in the center. And these are the one that traps all the waste. And also, it helps to store bacteria. So this system, I would rather say, as you see these ceramic rings, it helps to trap the waste. But not as much as the next compartment. This compartment, as you can see, are made up of ceramic stones.
And what are these called again?
Scheelite, they call it. Scheelite has more porous surface. And scheelite, as you can see from here, it also absorbs other chemical like chlorine, potassium, and also ammonia. All these will be trapped. But one thing bad about this is that after a while, when it wear off, and then it will release all these chemicals back to the water. And these chemicals are bad for the fish. This will be the last one to put into the canister. This will trap whatever debris not being trapped in these last two canisters. So this will be the final stage, and it will be on top of these two.
What sizes of tank do you recommend using this particular box filter for?
For box filter, normally it can go up to maximum the most 4 feet. I mean, there are people who say 5 feet. That depends on the number of fish in the tank. Because the more fishes that you put in the tank, you need a bigger filter. There are people who put many fishes in a 4 feet tank. With this system, it may not able to cope up with the waste. So therefore, I recommend a bigger filtering system. That's why hobbyists like myself, for the start, I use EHAM. But eventually, when I go further to bigger tank and other big fish involved, I would rather stay on the wet and dry system. This is the dry and wet system. It incorporates from a very large system meant for the pond. But we managed to get it in smaller scale. And this system, it works in a way that it comes from the top, which is dry. And when the water flows down, it reduces the water gravity because of the spreader bar. The spreader bar itself also provides oxygen freely, in a sense that when it spread all over this ball, it creates oxygen droplet right into the ball. And the water will flow through this compartment into this section. This section is wet, and it has all the ceramic rings. And these ceramic rings are very porous material. It stores up plentiful of bacteria inside. These are good bacteria. It converts the ammonia to nitrate and nitrate to nitrate. And nitrate is harmless. So when the clean water comes to this compartment, the pump will suck the water back into the tank. And this system is actually meant for this 5-feet tank. But of course, if you do have smaller tank, they have also smaller filter. Of course, when people use this system and this tank size, they normally go for Arowana. And as you know, Arowana is not cheap. It costs about 5,000-6,000. Some even more than 20,000, depending on the quality. So what about this system? This is peanut. Well, that's all for this week. See you next week. Bye-bye.